All right. Hello, everybody. Hello, everyone. And thank you for joining me for today's and this week's Tuesday tip at 2. All right. So let's get started by number one. Hold up. I have to shout out all of the new subscribers. I have been having a great turnouts or response to some of the shorts that I like to upload on YouTube. And some of you have that has caused you to subscribe to my channel. So I'm excited. Hey everybody. Woo, 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 woo. Thank you for joining me. And listen, this is my weekly vlog that I do talking about real estate, giving you some tips on real estate, on what's going on out there. This is a place where I get to be more in depth about real estate, get to, help those that are looking to buy in real estate, get started in real estate, whatever you're trying to do in real estate. This is a place where you can get some helpful and beneficial information. So thank you. Thank you to all my new subscribers. Thank you for all of those who are following me. Make sure that you click the bell in order to get all notifications, because again, I upload my shorts, which are little, funny, less than a minute little things that I do, as well as get my blog, my channel, where it's more in depth and we get to talk a bit more. Okay, so thank you, welcome. Okay, if you have stumbled across this and you have not done what it says to do up here, like, share, subscribe, comment. I do comment back. For those of you who comment, I comment back. So please interact, all that stuff. Please share with somebody who may find this helpful. Hey, if you're subscribed to my channel and you don't even, I'm a PA licensed realtor. I service Philadelphia and the surrounding suburbs. If you are not on the East Coast, not local, but you like what I'm doing and you know somebody who is local, please send them my video. Let them know. Okay, let them know. So I just wanted to put that out there. I always got to give that plug. But thank you guys for joining me on another episode. Listen, let's dive into it. So I have stopped my series when I was talking about Mythbusters, right? So I stopped that for a beat. We did it. It was great. And so I'm moving on to something, and it might be a series. It might be a little series. Okay, I at least have some preliminary ideas for this, but it's pretty much a what to look for series, right? So I think I might carry this as a series and really delve into certain nuances of real estate, whether you're a buyer, whether you're a seller, where it's like, okay, what are you looking for? Because a lot of times, even with doing these Tuesday tips at 2, you hear a lot of information. It's a lot of jargon, a lot of things coming at you. But I I feel like this what to look for kind of series will give you some very um, succinct, pinpointed things to look for, tips for while you're on your real estate, house hunting, house selling endeavors. Okay, so let's get into it. So, what to look for during a house tour? I always tell my clients when I'm taking them out on house tours, um, that when you've seen enough houses, me being in real estate and everything, I've seen enough houses, I've been on enough inspections to be able to look at some things. And so for me, especially, I'm trying to look at it from the lens of this client or these clients I'm with and what they would like, and then of course just make sure I am, if especially if it is a regular residential, I want to say, where you're living in the home, you're not an investor. But when it's that kind of home, I want to make sure that it's a place they can enjoy and not be, it's not a money pit, right? That's a reference to an old movie back in the day, Money Pit. They bought a property. I think they knew it would be a fixer upper, but I don't think they knew how bad it would be. And so you don't want to get into a situation where you've bitten off more than you chewed, unless that's what you want, unless that's the goal to get a fixer upper. But if it's something where it's like, hey, I do want something that's move and ready, that, I may do some stuff too, but it's more cosmetic, it's more trying to make it fit my taste as opposed to having to renovate a whole property. If that's what you're looking for, I try to make sure as your realtor that I'm spotting out things that, might be cause for concern or problematic. And really, it's not what you're looking for as the buyer or buyers. All right. So one of the first things that you want to pay attention to when you're going to a house. Now, I typically like to make my searches that I'm sending my buyers. I like to make sure that the criteria is very um, specific. Not too specific, but I want to make sure, hey, if you're looking for a 2,000 square foot house, a 2,500 square foot house, a 3,000 square foot house, I'm likely going to put and it's affordable and within your budget and in the area that you want. I'm going to make sure, hey, I'm going to put this square footage in so that I know that that's what my client is looking for, right? So one of the things you want to make sure, even when you walk into the space, just because something is a square footage doesn't mean it maybe feel or functions the best way, right? So you want to make sure that the house size is suitable, right? Is suitable for you, and you may not know that off, the bat. You may not know that because a lot of times people are like 2,000. I don't even know what that is. What does that look like? Again, it's my job as a realtor to understand what you're looking for, what you need. And so if we go into houses that are a certain square footage and you're like, it feels too small, it's not big enough, it's not giving me what I need, then I know as a realtor, hey, this particular house is X square footage, and I know that we can't do that, right? We're gonna go above that. So that just lets me know and get more specific as to what you're looking for in a house. And sometimes you can get into a house that is a smaller square footage than maybe your preferred, but it does function and feel better. So that's just one of the things you want to look for. What does it feel like in a space? Now, sometimes sometimes furniture can help, sometimes furniture cannot help. And that's another good thing to consider, is that sometimes you can get into a space and it's a great amount of space, but or decent space and functional space. But some people get oversized things that makes it feel a lot tighter than it is. But that's one thing that you want to keep into perspective when you're going to see a property. Am I in a house that is literally small, or am I in a space where maybe the current owner didn't best utilize the space, even though it's big, and it's bigger than what it feels like in the moment. The next thing you want to make sure you're being aware is the yard space. If you are a person that is interested in a yard or a specific kind of yard, you have to have a deck or you have to have just certain amenities in that yard. Keep keep be mindful of it. If you're a person that's like, I never had a yard, I don't even know what that is, then and you're not interested in maintaining one, you want to keep that in the forefront of your mind as well, right? And these are something that you can, the yard is something that you can kind of have an idea of when you are looking at the pictures, hopefully, if there are some. But when you're actually in the space, you'll get an even better idea, right? You want to pay attention to some things in regards to the house's exterior. Of course, a roof. You want to, now, of course, you can't see over the roof. That's what inspections are for. But you can definitely see what you can see of the roof, depending on what type of roof it is. You want to get an idea of what it is looking like. So, any structural issues, you want to look at the foundation. You want to look at around the exterior of it and kind of where the bottom of the house is that meets the pavement or the dirt. You want to see what's going on around there. Are there a lot of holes? Are there a lot of cracks and crevices? What's going on? You want to look at the siding. If there is siding, is it coming up? If it's wood, is it rotten looking? If does it look like it's fraying away? If it's stucco, kind of the same thing. Is there cracks and stuff like that? So you want to make sure that these things that you're seeing on the outside of it look pretty sound, right? In the bedroom, um, you The bedroom is, you're pretty much want to make sure, hey, are the size of these bedrooms conducive to what I'm looking for? That's what's important, right? Um, the next thing, number five, is bedrooms or bathrooms. I'm sorry. So make sure everything's just working. Make sure that you're looking at it. Doesn't need a lot of updating. Um, Keep an eye out for mold, which happens a lot in bathrooms. But is it like you know the whole ceiling made of mold, or is it a little corner of what they call it, caulking? Right? Is there something on there? So you just want to make sure of it. You can turn on the water to check the water pressure. You can turn the sink on, all that other stuff to make sure things are working properly. Living room, really, you just getting an idea of the size. Does it work for you? Does it work for your family? And so in all of these individual rooms, you're really looking at size. You know, you're really looking at, hey, if I get new furniture, will it fit in the door? If I get, but the existing furniture I have, will it really fit? Those are the things you want to look at. Heating and cooling system. Really, when we so I'm gonna talk about heating, cooling system, as well as the basement. Basement is an area you want to spend a decent amount of time in. Why? An inspector, number one, the inspection, and we're going to talk about this probably next week, what to look for in an inspection. But they're going to spend a great amount of time in the basement because it lets you know a lot about the house. That's where your HVAC is. That's where your your electric panels coming from. That's where your meters are. That's where a lot of things are. Um, of course, if you have termites, that's the main place to check. The joists and everything like that. So those are some areas you want to check out. Back to the heating and cooling, you really just want to see, is it old? Is it newer? You know what I mean? Um, if it looks kind of newer now, usually actually they'll have the year on the HVAC system. Some HVAC systems, if it's been serviced over time, it'll say on there the dates and the times and stuff that it has been serviced. So those are the kind of things you want to look for. Sometimes it'll say like 2017, like written on the water heater. Sometimes on HVAC, it'll say something on there that speaks to when it was installed or how new it is. If it's something that is older, of course, you can always just ask your realtor who will, have the seller's property disclosure. But when looking at it, you just want to check for, hey, oh, this definitely looks like a newer system as opposed to something older. The basement. The basement is a huge, huge thing because you want to, of course, you're checking with pretty much all your senses. The smell. Does it smell like an old, moldy basement? Right? Does it, feel stuffy? Is there moisture in there? You also want to check to make sure that there's no water damage. You want to check for no mold growths. You want to check and make sure that if it's an unfinished basement, that the mortar is not just coming down and just falling off the walls. You want to make sure it's not, just too many holes and critters and all kinds of stuff, because if it is a lot of critters, then there may be some holes somewhere. So you want to look at the electrical um, and see if there's any extra crazy, like to me, I always feel as though an electrical panel should look pretty, right? And especially the wires coming out of it as well. So it should look like it's not ancient. If it's looking ancient, it can be a little bit worrisome, right? And even if you are in a finished basement, you just want to make sure that it's no spots, and even in bedrooms, I'm sorry, as well. That's especially on the second floor, like any spots where there was water at some point. Now, sometimes you might see some staining from a previous issue, but you want to be mindful to ask the question, hey, is this staining from a previous issue or current one? And so you want to look in the basement for that if it's finished, as well as your second floor bedrooms, because that could speak to the roof. Okay. Now you have an attic. A lot of times for an attic, you want to see if it's insulated. You want to see, is there ductwork up there? Sometimes ductwork goes up to the attic and everything like that. Is there a heating and cooling system in the attic? You want to look for, especially if it's unfinished, you want to look for anything in regards to rodents or bats or squirrels. You just want to look. You want to look to make sure that, hey, Either this attic is simply an attic, or it's some things that's going on here. You definitely want to look at the roof structure. You Attics consist of joists that are together, and you want to make sure none of that is off. The lines are missing. Everything's a straight. You want to make sure that it's looking just like an attic. It should be like this. If it's doing some other weird shapes, then that's a problem. Secondly, the garage. If you choose to get a house with a garage, you want to check it out. You want to make sure that it's not moldy in there, which sometimes it can be. You want to see if it has its own HVAC, its own electrical. Is it enough space for your vehicle? Are you a person that likes to work on cars and or have a lot of bikes in the garage or use the garage as storage? So those are things that you want to consider space wise. Okay. That's pretty much it. Of course, those are the things that you need to look for when you're actually on a tour for a house. But of course, before then or going into it, you always want to make sure your budget is intact. You always want to make sure this is a property where that gives you that balance of your commute, and you want to do your research, your due diligence when studying a neighborhood, especially if that you're not familiar with. Okay. And I'll always say when you're, oh, and also, of course, schools is a part of that research as well. And at the end of the day, when you're going on tour to see these properties, you want to make sure that your deal breakers are intact. It's not about all, as a realtor, I'll understand what you want. Most people want very similar things, right? But what makes the difference is those deal breakers. So understanding what your deal breakers are and what things you absolutely do not want is absolutely important. So I thank you guys for your time today. It went a little bit long, but we had to have some in-depth conversation about what to look for on these tours, because you don't want to be wasting your time and you want to be able to go in there feeling empowered, not just that you feel like the home is a great space, but also understand, getting some tips to know that you're getting into a property that you're going to be comfortable with and that you're going to be, staying in for many, many years to come, or even if it's, a first home where it's like maybe 5 to 7 years, you still want to be in there and be comfortable. So that's all for today's and this week's Tuesday Tip or Two. Remember, there's no place like home, no place like home buying, and I will see you guys next week for another installment of What to Look For. All right, so remember to go down here to this link, hit book.djmrealtyco.com. Again, that is book.djmrealtyco.com. And I hope to talk. And now remember, there's no place like home, no place like home buying, and I'll talk to you soon. So I repeated myself, but it's fine. All right, bye.